Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alice Del Vecchio, and I'm in the Department of Nonprofit Management, Empowerment, and Diversity Studies. And I want to welcome you to, I think this is the third in our series of Student Nonprofit Alliance Professional Development Workshops. And so I want to thank you, those who are in attendance, as well as those who are our guests today. I want to remind people that Slippery Rock is the only university in Pennsylvania that offers an undergraduate degree in nonprofit management. In our program, you learn the back of the house. So you learn how to raise the money, you learn how to hire good staff and volunteers, you learn how to develop and coordinate programs. And so all of the kinds of things that would be support and build capacity for the nonprofit organization. And so it's fairly easy to stack our major with a first major. So for example, Grace, you're a social work major, to put in nonprofit management as a second major. That means that when you're applying for positions, you not only know the clinical side and working as a clinician, but you also understand that side of where does the funding come from and how do the policies get written. And since we're the only university in Pennsylvania that offers that degree, you would be competing with only Slippery Rock University social work majors who have that same degree. So Jocelyn, you have the dual major, right? And Barbara, you're working on that too, is that correct? I think so.
Yes, eventually, yes.
So you would be social work and nonprofit, and Jocelyn, you're IMC, is that right? Or
public relations.
PR and nonprofit. So it's pretty easy to put those two things together. And if students are interested in that, I'm more than happy to help you. But you didn't come today to listen to my commercial, although I appreciate that you did. I want to introduce Michaela Benson, who is another one of those students that's doing the dual major. Her first major is transitions program in special education, and her second major is nonprofit management. And she's going to host our symposium today. Thanks, Michaela.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. We've got a PowerPoint here. So this is our event today for careers in nonprofits that support individuals with disabilities. As you enter, if we have any guests, if you could put your name, your major, your email, and whether or not you're on Slippery Rock campus, in town even, this semester, if you could put that in the chat and then mute your mics. So this professional development series is to discover a world of career possibilities within the nonprofit sector through this 6-part professional development series. This is being sponsored by the Student Nonprofit Alliance, which is a pre-professional organization for students interested in working in the nonprofit sector. The mission of the Student Nonprofit Alliance is to foster an understanding of, appreciation for, and a deeper commitment to the nonprofit sector. And like Alice said, my name's Michaela Benson. I am a special ed transition and nonprofit management major here at Slippery Rock, and I am a senior. And then our speakers today, Jennifer Bindernagel and Christina, if we get her on here, and Alyssa Pontius. Did I do it right?
Pontius, but
Pontius. Pontius. All right. So up first, we have Jennifer Bindernagel. She is the Executive Director of the Blind Association of both Butler and Armstrong counties. She has a Bachelor of Science in Social Work from Slippery Rock University and a master's degree in community organizing system administration from the University of Pittsburgh. She also is a part-time professor here at SRU in the nonprofit management major.
Did you want me to, okay, you're okay.
Yeah, go ahead. If you want to go ahead and do your introduction.
Yeah, so being the executive director of the Blind Association of Butler and Armstrong, I've been here going on 13 years. And I actually started as executive director at the age of 28. Being the executive director can be exciting, rewarding, and exhausting, all in the same day or even in the same hour, right? In my role, I have an opportunity to make changes in the community from my position. I can improve the quality of life for individuals who are blind or visually impaired by leading my organization strategically. And we'll get more into that in a little bit.
Thank you, Jennifer. And then Alyssa. Alyssa is a program supervisor for Community Cares Connection. She provides community-based experiences for people with intellectual disabilities. She was a transition major at Slippery Rock and also had a minor in nonprofit management.
Hi, everyone. Like Michaela said, I work for Community Care Connections here in Butler. I started with them going on 4 years ago. I was in your seat in an internship, and I was placed here at CCC. You'll learn that in the disability field, there are acronyms for everything. So if I say an acronym and you don't know what it is, just flag me down. It's just because I'm used to talking. So we call ourselves CCC. And like I said, 4 years ago, I started here. And so we have a variety of programs, but I am the supervisor of our community supports program, which empowers people with disabilities to live in their communities just like you and I do. And I have a variety of responsibilities that come with the supervisory role. And I can get into that a little more later.
Okay. So I have a list of questions here that I'm going to ask both of you. So first,
So
Oh, sorry.
Michaela, is it okay that if any of the students have questions, do you want them to wait to the end, or can they ask as you're going along? It's more conversational. How would you and your guests like to handle that?
I'm okay with whatever. I mean, if anybody has a question that they want to ask, I can't see everyone. So just, you can talk or wave one of those little hands that you can stick up on the screen or something that should pop up for me. But if anybody doesn't have anything they want to lead with, I will.
And just a reminder to put your name in the chat if you are one of the students, because we have a gift card to draw at the end. Okay, thanks, Michaela. Go ahead.
Okay. So Jennifer, could you tell us what it's like being the executive director of the Blind Association, and like what are your responsibilities and duties in the everyday life of the executive director at the Blind Association?
Sure. So the Blind Association is a small organization. I wear many hats. I am the person who oversees the daily operations. And in addition to that, I provide board management, meaning I keep my board informed so that they can provide governance for my organization. I organize the meetings and continue to provide them encouragement to participate on committees. I am the human resource person, so I hire, fire, and supervise all of the employees. I also do the fundraising, so I write the letters that go out. I help to do the event planning. I do donor relationship building. I also have the opportunity to do program development and evaluation. I also do public relations and marketing. I provide financial oversight. I don't actually do the bookkeeping. Thank goodness I have a bookkeeper, because numbers like that are not for me, but I have to understand how to read financial statements and understand the cash flow for my organization to be able to run successfully. I also do strategic planning, and I even do things like unclogging the toilet.
You were right. You wear many hats. Definitely a lot of hats. Okay. Alyssa, what are your responsibilities as the program supervisor for CCC?
One of my main responsibilities is overseeing my team of direct support professionals. And what I do is I ensure that they're following and delivering services according to our participants' individual support plans, which I was hoping Christina was on, because we work closely with Christina's agency. She develops the individual support plans and makes the referrals to us, and then we carry out the plan. But in their ISPs are their goals that are written so that we carry out those goals and help the participants work towards those goals, whether those be go to the grocery store and get 3 things, or up to getting a job, which I'm in the process of developing an employment program right now. Some other things that I do is kind of like the behind the scenes work, meaning that I don't provide the direct support myself often. However, I do many administrative tasks to keep up with our state regulations. So these include intakes of new participants, documenting and reporting on those support plans so that we get paid, and organizing like the weekly schedule so that all of our participants are seen in accordance to their individual support plan and what we agreed to do. I interview and hire staff to be on our team. And then I complete staff reviews and monitor team meetings. Like I said, we're in the process of developing an employment program. So the past few years, I've taken the necessary certifications to be able to do that. And I'm working on writing policy and procedures to carry out that program.
Awesome, thank you. I'm obviously not Christina and I don't work for CCR or anything, but just so everyone has a little bit of kind of an understanding as far as what they're doing that I see during COVID at least. I'm an intern at Glade Run in the transitions program. That's where I'm at right now. And my students do CCR every Thursday at 10:15. So I just had CCR this morning. So Hannah is our CCR girl, and we hop on Zoom with her on Thursdays every week, and she just does a lesson in, it can be different, lots of different things. Like today they were talking about how to have like a back and forth conversation and being a good listener and being a good speaker to someone else, active listening, things like that. And it was kind of cool. She had them pair up in groups. So I put them together in groups and they had to ask each other questions back and forth. So that's a little bit of just what CCR, as far as the seat that I'm in, what I see with CCR, what they're doing right now during COVID too, how that plays in with you guys.
Alyssa, when you have those extra certifications, does your agency pay for that additional training? And do you have time off to get the training, or is it just thrown on top of everything else you're trying to do?
My agency paid for these trainings. So I am Acre Basic certified, which is to provide supportive employment to our individuals, which is also known as like job coaching or developing a resume and things like that for our participants. But I'm also customized, or I'm certified in customized employment, which entails discovery and customized job development. So that would be diving a little deeper and customizing a job and working with employers to write a job description for an individual who might not be able to do a typical job description task. And yeah, they paid for those and gave me time to complete those.
And would
So
you
I
say
think-
those initiatives are coming from regulation coming down, eliminating the 14C licensing, the subminimum wage workshops?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
Would you say that your new initiatives are coming from regulations that are eliminating the subminimum wage workshops, the 14C?
Yeah, everything that
programs?
everything we do, we don't have a workshop through our agency. So everything we do with employment is paid minimum wage, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
So this question is just for both of you. So if Jennifer, if you would like to answer first, what was it about the nonprofit sector that pulled you in and made you want to pursue a career working in the nonprofit sector?
Because you were social work at first, right, Jennifer?
Yeah, I have a degree in social work. Actually, my doctorate degree will be in social work also. But it was the desire to help people. I actually started my school career out in Youngstown State University, which is at the time was very impoverished community. And I got involved with some kids who were struggling in the community and got hooked up with some social workers who were helping them. And I was originally going for public relations marketing, Jocelyn, and got involved in the community and ended up going for social work. So I started out in direct service. I was helping individuals who were chronically homeless with serious mental illness in Butler County. But I began to see needs that were still being unmet. So I began developing programs, writing programs like you're doing now, Alyssa, and writing grants to get them funded. And I was successful in that. I actually helped to develop the Hope Project in Butler County, the peer support program in Butler County, the drug and alcohol blended case management, the HIV/AIDS program, the utility single point of contact. I was involved in the development of all of those programs, primarily at Center for Community Resources. But that success led me to the position here at the Blind Association. Actually, when I applied for the job, it was in the newspaper and the agency wasn't listed. So it was a blind job posting for an executive director for an organization who helped individuals with disabilities. And at the time, I was really hopeful that it was the position at the Mental Health Association because Pam Grabe was retiring at the time. But I didn't find out until I actually went to the interview that it was for the Blind Association. So I had no experience working with individuals who are blind or visually impaired coming here. I was hired based upon my skills to identify unmet needs, develop programs, being able to evaluate them, and successfully secure funding to create them. So that's led me to where I am today.
Wow.
So you didn't wake up one day when you were 7 years old and say you want to be an executive director?
No, I wanted to go into public. I loved commercials and I wanted to throw parties, which I was really good at in college for a while, but ended up getting involved with the kids in my community and led me to where I am today. Yeah.
Thanks.
Which helps me with event planning.
Yeah. Alyssa, same question then. What was it about the nonprofit sector that pulled you in and made you pursue a career in it?
I think Jennifer summed it up so nicely that the overall just desire to help people and how rewarding it is. I always say that there's nothing like the feeling of somebody coming and showing you their first paycheck and being so prideful in that.
I have clients visit me that I helped in the homeless program that we developed. Still today, like a month ago, I helped them do their rent rebate application. So I've been at the Blind Association for 13 years, but I was able to make that impact in somebody's life to come see me later. So it is very rewarding.
That actually goes, my next question was going to be, what do you like the most about working with individuals with disabilities, or what is the most rewarding thing? So you both just gave us a really great example of that, but is there anything else that you want to add to that?
Or even a favorite story of a favorite experience?
Yeah, I would say an opportunity to see individuals achieve their goals or prove somebody wrong, the opportunity to empower individuals to have a voice, to be able to develop programs so that individuals have somebody to stand up for them since they've been marginalized or victimized in the past. A story that I would share with you that I think stands out the most to me is, well, I have two at the Blind Association specifically. One is, I told you I had no experience working with individuals who are blind or visually impaired. So I didn't know how to provide sighted guide. I didn't know anything, okay? And I think it was probably my second or third week on the job and my caseworker was really busy. So I said, oh, I'll take Mary grocery shopping, no problem, right? I can figure this out. Got on YouTube, watched a video on sighted guide. Anyways, I was very bad at it. And helping her out to the car, and I'm trying to enable too much. I'm like trying to do it for her. And she's an older woman. And so I'm trying to get her into the car and she knocks her head off the door. And I felt horrible, right? And she goes, oh, honey girl, I run into stuff all day long. You're okay. And from there, she taught me that she's 70 some years old and she's gotten in and out of a car all of her life. And I really don't have to sit her down. And that if I just show her where the doorknob is, she can find the seat from there, because believe it or not, every car has the door that opens the same way, unless you're getting in a Lamborghini, but that's another story. So just being able to become comfortable with individuals with different disabilities and diverse populations, and allowing them to educate me instead of thinking that I have to know everything to be engaged is one. And the other one would probably be my friend Danny, who was a young man when I met him, lived with his elderly parents. He was in his 40s or 50s. And when I started, he wanted to come down and volunteer. So I was stuffing envelopes at the time for a direct mail campaign. And I thought, well, he can help me seal envelopes. Well, sometimes I can be very particular about things. So we sat there for about 10 minutes or so, and he's taking a piece of tape and taping it on, and I'm going a little to the left, a little to the right, you know, down a little. And he says to me, get me a ruler, tape, and a paper clip. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, MacGyver, I'll get it for you, but I'm not sure where we're going with this, you know? And so he tapes the ruler on the desk and he butts the envelope up to it and he says, put my finger on the envelope where you want the tape to go. So I did, and he put the paper clip above that and taped it to the table. And he said, go do your work now. I can make sure that the tape is on the same spot in the envelope, right? And that's just another opportunity where my clients were able to teach me instead of me teach them. And those opportunities are what energize me, right? To continue to develop programs and provide opportunities for individuals to be independent and live enriched lives. And so when I get to engage in that, that gets me going to be able to provide an organization that can help individuals.
Thank you.
I think it's so encouraging that we get to advocate for people, but even more encouraging when they step up and advocate for themselves because we show them how to do that.
To put my own little 2 cents in here, prior to COVID, the transition students, they all have memberships at the YMCA, whichever the one closest to Zelienople is, I'm not sure. But they go to the YMCA and they get the weird looks and everything else. And the transition coordinator here, her name's Tara, and something that she said and that she's told them too is every time that they go out into the community, they're changing the stigma on disability in the community. So they've had those experiences too, where you watch the change on someone's face after they've interacted with my students and how it changes them forever in their perception on disability as well.
It's rewarding.
Do you have a story to share, Alyssa?
Oh, I have so many stories to share. One of the things that I love about my position is no 2 days are the same. And no 2 days can you expect what to happen. So you just never know what participants are going to say or do. We have one participant in particular who lost her mom a few years back, and that's all she knew. And she quickly shut down and didn't like to leave her house, or if it was a rainy day, she did not get out of bed at all. We have this has taken maybe 3 years. So not a ton of time, but she's now working part-time. She leaves her house. She lives independently in her own apartment in Butler. She has a cat. She loves her cat. And so I think one of the most rewarding points of that story is that no matter where somebody starts, they can build that independence.
Awesome. Okay. How has your time, so this was, I guess, more for Alyssa since you were in the nonprofit program here. How did your time in the nonprofit program help you? And Jennifer, you teach for us now, so yours may be more, how could this program help students in the future? Why should they choose the nonprofit program?
Having the background in nonprofit helps me see the bigger picture of the little day-to-day things that I do. So an example of that would be signing budget paperwork. or signing expense sheets. I sign those off, but that's part of a bigger budget that our program has. Again, with making policy and procedures that line up with our regulations and just writing those, professionally and keeping those in line and manageable with our staff, hiring and being aware of what other agencies around us are doing as well, and how we can work with other agencies to better our programs and things like that has helped. Program development and expanding our programs, staff management. There's so many things. I could go on and on.
So those weren't included in your transitions program, is that correct?
No, correct.
I
go back. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I go back to my binder from Alice's class all the time. So keep your notes. You don't think you'll need them, but you will.
I would say being able to teach this now, I'm very excited because I'm confident in who's going to be entering the nonprofit workforce, the sector. Seeing the work and the assignments, I know that they are difficult classes, but I am confident that individuals who complete these courses can hit the ground running in any nonprofit position, whether it's direct service or whether it's a behind the scenes, public relations, marketing, accounting, fundraising, executive management, program evaluation, compliance officers, all of any field that you're in can be used within the nonprofit sector somehow. And by completing this coursework, you are really prepared to enter day one and be successful with probably minimal supervision.
Which allows you to get promoted more quickly, right, Alyssa? You're telling me, so you were telling me on the phone how that you've had several promotions in the time that you got hired before your internship was over, right?
Correct. So I started as an intern, and then I got hired to work at our Golden Opportunity Center, which is a piece of the program I work in now, but a different branch of that program, of our program. So, and then I was promoted to a program specialist, which does mainly paperwork for the participants. And then about 2 years ago, I was promoted to the supervisor.
That's
So
awesome.
it allows you to kind of move faster, I think. Morgan, you just had an experience with an interview, right?
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit about that and what they thought about what you knew from being in this program, and also with your interest in special needs?
Yeah, so my emphasis area is disabilities in general. And then, so my internship, I definitely wanted something in disabilities and of course, nonprofit. So I ended up interviewing with Move United, which is an organization that works with people with disabilities to educate the community and then prepare athletes for the Paralympics. And actually I just got confirmation today that I did in fact get the position. So I'm really excited about that. The internship wasn't set up for someone in the nonprofit industry, I guess you could say, because they have never come across someone with this kind of background. But seeing how different it was, they were really excited to work with me and, change the internship even to fit my needs and their needs, because they can do a lot more with me now. And I'm excited because I'll be working with not just like one main person, but a couple of different people on different programs that they think like I could use my skills to help them in these different sections.
And it's at their national, some of it's going to be remote, but this is a national nonprofit, not something just local, right?
Correct, yeah. They're based in Maryland near DC.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
I wanted
you.
you to say, because I knew you got the internship because you told me already today. So good for you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
To add to her point, working in the field, I am part of multiple committees within the agency too, besides just what I do on a day-to-day basis of fundraising and things like that. So that the nonprofit background really helps with that.
And did you feel prepared to be able to do that confidently stepping in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I felt confident knowing that what I was saying wasn't stupid or something. Somebody already knew that, you know, having confidence in my background and knowing what I was talking about, for sure.
Okay, and then just one more thing. What is a piece of advice or a recommendation or some words of encouragement, something that you would share with individuals who are going to work with people with disabilities or just entering the nonprofit sector in general?
I'll start.
Okay.
I would say be flexible. Flexibility in the nonprofit sector is a must. Like Alyssa said, no 2 days are the same. What you think you're walking into for the day may be totally different than what the day ends up being like. And that's fun for me. I enjoy that challenge. Be confident. Don't be afraid to try something new. Just because something's always been done that way doesn't mean that it's efficient or effective. And communicate regularly. Communication is huge in the in any profession, but specifically the nonprofit. And work on developing relationships as soon as you can. Whether it's while you're a student, begin networking immediately. Take advantage of opportunities to attend meetings, introduce yourself to key stakeholders, and don't be afraid to have conversations and ask questions.
Yeah, I would say have a passion for what you do, because waking up every day to do it and not knowing what the day is going to hold may be a challenge if you don't love what you do. And so one of the things that could help, or you might want to get involved in now, is supporting individuals with disabilities and being familiar with the different disabilities and how best to support them. I've had staff members come in with no experience and they're great at the job, and I've had staff members come in with 50 years of experience and be great at the job. But I always say that no two people with disabilities are the same. So the more experience you have will be helpful.
So what's the hardest part of your job?
I think the hardest part of my job is probably the history of employment supports. So we have people that work here that were in the field when there were institutions and things, and so getting everybody on that disability advocacy side and really pushing for advocacy and getting everybody to see it, that the participants have the same rights that you and I do, can be a challenge. Not always, but sometimes.
I would say the most difficult part of my job is probably the human resource aspect of it. And that's just dealing with individuals who either have conflicts with one another or poor job performance, and really empowering them to be engaged in their work. So human resources is probably my most challenging part of the job.
Does anyone else have a question that they wanted to ask?
I would say one thing I would recommend for students to do now while they're in school is utilize the nonprofit classes are primarily based around service learning and case studies. I would say keep your case studies, utilize those as a portfolio to develop a resume upon graduation. You have had an opportunity to practice these and you have projects that you've completed. Brag about it. When you go and talk with nonprofits that you're looking to work with, utilize that to your advantage. and network as much as possible. Attend events like this, attend events in the community when you see them offered, and people will see your face and recognize you and recognize that you're interested in the nonprofit sector.
Thank you, Jennifer.
So Grace, you said that you want to be a social worker. What kind of work do you want to do? Who would you like to work with? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I don't think I have it exactly down yet. I'm only a sophomore, but I want to do like social work with like teenagers, 13, 18, around that age. And I guess teenagers who could be quote on troubled, like just not having a good background, or maybe have been taken out of regular school and put in alternative schools, something like that.
And Michaela, is that what you're doing in your internship? Are you working with kids like that?
Yeah, so the transitions program specifically, they don't pull it is a whole school here. So St. Stephen's, the actual school, that would be exactly what you're talking about, Grace. They are pulled from public school for, it's an alternative to, an alternative school. They all come from public school, but so do my students, but my students don't all come from St. Stephen's. So I have students that just come straight from public school that have never been to St. Stephen's. I also have students who came from that alternative school, but that would be an awesome opportunity if you've never heard of Glade Run, if you want to, if you wanted to come do observation or something, that is what is here.
I actually live in Cranberry Township, so I'm a little bit familiar with that. Yeah.
I know they have a lot of summer camps and things like that there, Grace, at Glade Run. And I don't know for sure, but my guess is they might be looking for part-time help in the summer, in their summer programs. And if you haven't considered that, you might think about that. It give you some experience, but maybe also some pocket money. So something to look into since you're from Cranberry.
Yeah, they'll have extended school year, and they also, my coordinator does, it's called ILE, Independent Living Experience. So those are two awesome opportunities. ILE is super cool. We got to go over and see the building last week. So.
And Barbara, what are you interested in? I know you're social work also.
I haven't really decided because what I wanted to do, I can't technically do currently because of COVID. I wanted to work in like the hospital aspect, just like the different demographics and stuff. But I've always had an interest in working with disabilities. The YMCA camp down in Zelienople, Conakry Spencer, on the Spencer side, they actually have a camp that they work that's just disabilities, people with disabilities. So they have campers from 18 to like 65 or older. So I had a couple friends that did that, and I spent actually part of my summer a couple years ago on that side of camp, and I loved it. So I'm thinking I'm moving towards the disability side now. So
the hospitals are still looking for hospital social workers. So, you know, there are positions there. Even if you don't do your internship there, there'll be positions, and COVID will go away sometime. And Morgan, any particular area of disability services that you're interested in?
Not in particular, no.
But you kind of like the adaptive piece, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I've definitely, I guess now that you mentioned that, have gone more towards the adaptive, like rec therapy side of things.
And Jocelyn, do you have an interest in working with people with disabilities, or you just are interested in lots of things?
I'm interested in a lot of things, especially just because I see myself in a capacity building role in public relations. But I right now I'm looking into working with organizations that cater to children and youth. So that would be with disabilities.
And so you have you are the marketing person, Jennifer, I know, for the Blind Association, but do you have a marketing department, Alyssa?
We do not.
Okay, I wasn't sure how that worked, but I know Life Steps is one of those folks that work, one of those organizations with people that work with people with disabilities across Butler County, and with the developmental delays and so forth. And they have a pretty good sized marketing department. So
I would say, Alice, that public relations and marketing is going to be sector in the nonprofit that's going to be hiring. It's being recognized that storytelling is a challenge and is very much needed to be able to, one, reach the clients, and two, to reach the key stakeholders and donors to fund it. And it in my study, it's recognized as one of the largest challenge for executive directors is public relations and marketing. So I'm predicting that there's going to be more positions within nonprofits for individuals with experience in public relations and marketing.
Well, and part of that is because in our sector, and I think Alyssa, you see this a lot, people are so busy doing that they don't have time to tell, because our clients never, I mean, their needs never go away. And if this client's needs go away, then there are 5 more clients waiting. And so we're always in that do mode, that we are not very good with what I would call the ooh and the eyeing and sort of the celebrating. And we're also not we're good with reports with how many people did you serve and what are the skills that they can do now, and those kind of demonstrations of delivery of deliverables, but we're not so good at capturing the great stories. And that's one reason why I asked Alyssa and Jennifer, tell us about a person that you, not just, oh, and this is what I did, but tell us about somebody that you work with, a great story. And nonprofits are going to have to get better at collecting those great stories, because the board members never hang out with the clients. The board members need to be in the community, because they are in the community. They have lots of great connections, and they need your great stories, because they don't have any great stories to tell their neighbors and the banker and other people like that. And so finding a way to systematically collect those great stories so that the community can know, and particularly one of the things I'm interested in is just having the community understand what the heck the nonprofit sector is. Because I think it would be grand if a 7-year-old said, Mom, I want to be a nonprofit professional. But they're never going to do that if the general community doesn't know what it is that we do, and if we don't brag a little bit about ourselves. So I think you're spot on, Jennifer. Yep. Thanks. Michaela, thanks so much for being the hostess, and Jennifer and Alyssa for being here, and for the students for taking out a little bit of your time. We hope it was useful for you, and hope that you'll do great things and change the world. So, and you'll also make a difference while making a living, right?